Today we're all about websites for collaboration, communication, connecting with students connecting with one another, connecting with colleagues, connecting with parents, connecting with our communities. We're going to kind of extend that and talk about how blogs fit into that as well, and then look at some ways that we can embed different types of applications into those web pages to make them even more useful. So we kind of tried to tier today's work to allow you to get what you needed. Some of you participated in a survey and told us that you either already have a website and want to take it to the next level, or that you're really just getting started with some ideas about what you could do with a professional website for your students and for interactions with your colleagues, and you want to really just get that moving today. So we have materials that are going to not only help you, we think, today, but also help you as you continue to work on that website. And we're more than willing to stay in touch with you and help you grow that site after today. So, you know, those of you who have kept in touch with us between sessions, we like to hear from you. We think we've been pretty responsive to your questions, and we hope that you'll continue to use us as resources. So regardless, we're gonna do some introductory work together, and then we're gonna break into two groups, and then we're gonna come back together and work together. But regardless of which group you end up in, you're gonna have access to all the materials, okay? And then you have access indefinitely to all these pages, you know, to continue learning and working as well. Okay? All right, so without further ado, let's imagine the possibilities, which is the first thing on our agenda. And so what we thought we would do is take you on a little tour of a few Google sites that Kathy and I are familiar with. These are sites that we've either worked with or discovered, and sites that we thought we could share with you and give you maybe some ideas. So this first one that I'm going to launch comes from a former student of mine. And I guess what I liked about this site is, first of all, that she took some ownership of the site and named it something that had meaning to her. She called her site BioStew. I don't even know what BioStew is, but she's a biology teacher, and so this meant something to her. And so you can see that with a Google site, you've obviously going to have a menu that allows you to navigate on your site. You have the ability to put images on your site. Most people find that when they put images on their site, that site is going to be a lot more attractive and inviting to others. One of the things that you can see in this site is that she has used, I'm just going to show you one of her pages, that she has used a page type called the announcement page. Google calls it the announcement page, but educators oftentimes use it as a blog type page. And when we say blog page, we can talk about lots of different ways that educators might use blogs, not the least of which, if the audience for that blog might be students, could be an extension of the classroom, homework help and support kind of thing. And so you'll notice maybe the little RSS symbol, the subscribe to posts, and so it works just like a real blog. It is a real blog, in fact, and folks can subscribe to that, including parents or students. So you can embed a blog on your website if you would like to do that. Okay, so she has done that. Okay, another one that I wanted to show you comes from a foreign language, well, actually English as a foreign language teacher, and I liked this. Well, it's got some pretty dense text on this opening page, but I liked this site because the student had done some interesting things with tables and graphics, and I thought she had done a nice job with layout. Google gives you a lot of kind of template layouts inside of the pages that you can use. So you can work in columns, 2 columns, 3 columns. You can work with headers and different things. But you also have the ability to put in tables. And you know, if you think of a table as a chart, an organizer, if you think about it as a container or a place to plug in pictures, pieces of text, think about your junk drawer or your utensil drawer at home as an organizer. So when you're putting together something for which you want the pieces and parts to line up, a table is a really good organizer. So you can see here that she wanted an organizer across the top. Okay, so she used a table there. I also liked that she, you know, kind of used that postcard idea here to bring some color into her website. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm trying to, I know I can't join you there, but I'm trying to get on the internet and it won't let me access the digital learning site because it says it's got a certificate problem. So then
Are you using the Mayerson public?
Yeah, I was. What do I need to do instead?
Mayerson public should let you in.
Okay.
Because I'm on, that one's on the Mayerson public there.
I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, I'm not sure why the Picasso web slideshow isn't loading up here. But what I was going to say about this particular page is here's Michelle's blog, and like the example we looked at a moment ago, we've got another blog page. But one of the things Google allows you to do is embed Google type objects, and a Picasso slideshow is one of the Google objects. And so the slideshow would run on its own if it were working, and I'm not quite sure why it's not working just now. Okay, we're gonna look at one more. Okay, so this young lady used a template. One of the things that I'm gonna caution you about as you go in, well, you know what? I'm not going to get into that. Kathy's going to talk about that if you work with her. But from her homepage, you can go into this About Me and see that she's used a 3-column layout, which is kind of a nifty layout, allowing her to put some photographs about herself and then use that middle column to talk about herself. And then you see here she's used, I liked this, I thought this was kind of neat, she's used her blog page to post her newsletters. And a lot of us, you know, send newsletters home and can save a lot of paper by doing it this way. She's put student project material on the web. Now, obviously there's a lot to consider before you put student pictures up on the web. You've got to make sure that students' parents have signed releases that it's okay to have those pictures shown. But you do notice here that we don't have any student names listed here, any identifying information. And so in many cases, you know, that makes it okay. But make sure you do know. Okay, Kathy, do you want to go and do your row, or do you want me to jump to the bottom?
It doesn't matter. For some reason, this is locking on this one.
Is anyone else getting?
Is anyone else blocked? Restart your computer. Restart it. Okay, so now I'm going to hope that I'm not repeating something Ellen's already done because I wasn't listening to the end of her. But this first one in the middle row is just an example of how Google Sites could be used for an e-portfolio. So this is a high school art student, and she has chosen to put her work here. So she has apparently a project that she did on Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and she's taken photographs of her work and put it up here. So you can think of this not only as a means of getting information across to parents and students, but also as a way for students to show what they know or to use it as an e-portfolio. And at one point, Northern Kentucky University was moving to public portfolios like this. Instead of the good old binder that we all probably made as our portfolio, they're being done online now. So I thought this one was pretty interesting that it will, whoop, that page is not working. But you can see the interesting things that she's chosen to put up there. So as an e-portfolio. This middle one was done by a history teacher, and he has some interesting things on here. He's got his syllabus in. He's got a link to something called Engrade, which must be what their district uses for grading purposes. But if I go to like Unit 4, Totalitarianism, he's got a link up here to a review game that he created, a Jeopardy game with a website called Super Teacher Tools, and I believe this is free. And then he's created a review Jeopardy style game, and he's just embedded that link into his webpage so that students can click there. If you're going to Ellen's breakout in a few minutes, she'll show you how to embed things. But even if you're not, you're going to stick around toward the end when I show you Symbaloo, and I'll show you how to embed a Symbaloo Webmix onto your webpage, and you'll see how easy that is. He's also got links here that go straight to his Google Docs with pages that he's created in Google Docs, and then he's shared so that all he has to do is put the link out and students can get to it. So when you need to give information to students, instead of printing ream upon ream of paper, which we all know ends in the trash can or on the floor, and then we pick it up and put it in the trash can, you can put it in Google Docs, and then you can create links to it as long as you've shared it so that they have access to get into it. Another one that is here, this one actually happens to be my daughter's website. She's a third grade teacher, and she uses it, she has a calendar here, so she keeps track of all of the things that parents might want to know, certain scheduling things, and all her parents have to do is come to this website and immediately know what is due and when it's due. She has a class news, which is done with this announcements template, which is basically a blog. So when I click on class news, the first thing I get is her January newsletter. And then if I scroll down, I get to her December newsletter. And as I keep going, I will get further newsletters. It works the same way Facebook does. The most recent post is at the top. If a parent wants to reference something, they don't have to scroll through the whole thing. The links are here. So if they want to see something that was in the November newsletter, they just click back. Now, you don't only use this for newsletters. In this school, they have a garden that encircles the building. And so she blogged about various things that were happening. The kids grew vegetables, then they picked them, and they created a dinner for the community, and they raised money to build a school in Africa, and it went on and on and on. She also has a link here that says links, and this opens up her Symbaloo Webmix, which is basically a learning portal for her students. So, and she's got them color-coded, and I'm going to show you how Symbaloo works after we learn about Google Sites. But she's got all of these color-coded, and then she can say to the kids, go to the second red, and they click on that, and it takes them immediately to whatever activity they want. This is super simple and free, and apparently a little bit musical. So Symbaloo is what I'm going to show you about toward the end of our session tonight. So that just shows you some interesting ways that I like to use it. And Ellen's going to show you 3 more sites, and then we're going to break out and get to the nitty-gritty.
Okay. Okay, so we're probably gilding the lily here a little bit, but this is we wanted to give you some examples that were covering all the curriculum areas to look at. So this is a math site. This teacher definitely has a sense of humor. If you look under more stuff, he's got useful links, and then underneath that he's got useless links. So he's got under useless links, he had some math jokes, puns and jokes and things about math, but he too uses the calendar. So you can see here's a high school example of using the calendar. And so, you know, what you would be doing is you've got to be using the Google Calendar yourself and putting those things in the calendar, and then you're going to embed your own calendar into your Google page. So you'd be updating that calendar, and it's going to dynamically do that for you.
And just one word to the wise, make sure you have 2 different Gmail addresses. You have the one you use for school and the one you use personally, because if you're using your personal Gmail, your calendar from your telephone is going to show up on the web.
Yeah.
So you have to be using the school Gmail address.
Well, and you guys do have school.
And they do.
School Gmails,
But just
right.
make sure that's the one.
This type of page, those of you who got Google Sites set up, this type of page is called a file cabinet page. Sounds just like what it is. And what it allows you to do is to store files. Kathy will be talking about this page type in her session. One trick that we use that is, maybe it's not a 101 trick, it's maybe something you do further down the line, is a lot of times we'll hide the file cabinet page from the students, and we put house files there. We store files there. And then on the pages that the students actually see, we link with shortcuts to those files. So we put hyperlinks to the files as they need them. So then imagine on your blog page, if you've got a homework blog and you want to hyperlink to the worksheet that's stored in the file cabinet page. And then, you know, they don't need the worksheet from last month or the worksheet in March. They need this week's worksheet. So why inundate them with the whole file cabinet when you can link just to what is appropriate for that day? So there are some really efficient things that you can do with your website. And it's that access after hours, that parent who wants to know, you know, at 8 o'clock at night, you're getting the text, you know, we don't have this worksheet at home, how can I access it? And you can easily put it there. So I wanted to show you an example of a file cabinet page that's being populated. And you can see this teacher has his Algebra 2 class and some other classes in there. He's also linked to some outside resources for his students as well. So, you know, it's just a nice tight and tidy kind of site.
Question?
What's the difference between a file cabinet page and a cloud? Because I can create folders in my cloud.
It's in the cloud. All of this is in the cloud. Everything you're seeing here is in the cloud. It does not live on a computer specific.
Yep.
So why would I use a file cabinet page instead of OneDrive or instead of SkyDrive or Google Drive or?
I mean, honestly, either one would be fine.
Because Google Drive does this.
Google Drive does this also. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. Just another way of organizing. Yeah. That's a good question, actually. I tend to get excited about things, and there are lots of different ways to. I don't know what metaphor I want to end, or what simile I want to end with there, but you know, lots of different ways to get the job done. Okay, so this is one of my former students who's actively teaching. You can see she's got her menu across the top here. She's teaching 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, 8th grade as well. And if you go into any one of her classes, you can see that she has used that same page to store her files. So at the bottom of any one of your pages, you've got the ability to add files. And that's how on our session pages, Kathy and I have added the files that are germane to that particular session. So you don't have to just add files to a file cabinet page. You can also add them to those session pages. But again, this is a teacher who's definitely really using this. Now, I want to point out one other little thing. You notice here the W next to her files. That means it's a Word file, right? So if you go to, if you just click on it and you get a preview of it, it's going to try to open it in a Google preview. If it's been saved in an earlier version of Word, it'll probably look just as it should. If it's been saved in one of the newer versions of Word, it might look a little bit wonky. If you want the file in its true Word sense, then you have to use the down arrow, and that gives you a download of that file. Okay, and one more, and this is an example. This is my college class. Okay, so this is these are undergraduates. So in many ways, they're not too different from 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds. This is a class project. We are working with the Behringer Crawford Museum in DeVue Park, and each of them took an exhibit or a program from the museum and created a web page to go along with that program. And so they were trying to align it, they're in teacher ed, so they were trying to align it to standards and trying to look for resources for learning and for teaching that would go along with that, and develop some lessons and activities that were maybe like pre-visit to the museum or post-visit to the museum activities. So I don't want to show you all of these pages, obviously, because we don't have time for that, but I did want to mention that, you know, as Kathy said, one of the things that you want to think about is beyond just how can you as a teacher use this, you want to be thinking, at least, you know, eventually, how could your students be using this? Could your students be using this to demonstrate their learning? You know, there was a long time ago, we thought PowerPoint was just for the teachers, right? And now it's in all classrooms that the kids make PowerPoints, right? And they come and teach the class with their PowerPoints. So why couldn't the kids be making websites to demonstrate their learning? All right, so a class project where each student has a page on a class website. And one of the cool things about Google is Google's going to let you make as many websites as you want to make. You should see my list of websites. Some of them are really pretty much junk, just things that I've been playing around with, right? But I can continue making websites. So you can continue making websites as a Google educator. So your classes can have projects that are websites. And that's a pretty neat way. So, so my students used their creative genius to do things. And some of the things that they did was included embedding some objects, and I think this one might have some, this young lady did take some pictures of stations. You see she's got embedded hyperlinks in here. And then this is an activity that I wanted to show the group that goes with me. Many of you use Quizlet, right? You've used Quizlet or you've seen Quizlet. Well, Quizlet will allow you to get an embed code and then put that embed code out on your web page. And so, and then Quizlet has all these different I want to go up here and tap up there like it's a smartboard. Has all these different study modes. And so if we wanted to play the scatter game, and we can play it right here on the web page. So now this web page has become interactive. So we can start this game and we can play it. So you create your own question set. Okay, so then take that a step further. As Kathy was telling you about Puzzle Maker, and she said, yeah, it's cool for the teacher to make puzzles, but even greater for the students to make puzzles, right? All right, so why not have the students create the learning games and embed them on their pages? All right, so, and this is something that you can pretty easily be able to do. Pretty fast and easy to create a Quizlet set and then embed it on your page. Okay, so that was all that I had.
Let's split up.
For this.
There were at least 2 people that answered the survey that I sent out a week or so ago saying you already have a Google site and you want to learn how to do more with it. If you're one of those people that already has a Google site and you want to understand how to put all these extra go fasters in it, you need to get up and march with Ellen.
We're just going across the hall. We don't have to march far.
Yeah. And the rest of you stay here, and we're going to work for about an hour, and then we're going to reconvene back together here, and we'll work with Symbaloo and Tagzito word clouds. Okay? All righty.
All right. And then I also brought materials to do, if anybody wants to look at Blogger, we also would have time to do Blogger as well.